Welcome to episode 365 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill, and we are live. So who knows who else is going to join us. If you are tuning in and joining us on YouTube, then please do feel free to throw in comments, questions, opinions, topics, because we're going to be going and trawling through the KissFAQ message board to see what's going on there this week. Today, of course, with me are the almighty voice of reason, Ken.
Hey there.
Lonnie, St. Louis Kiss.
What's up?
And Mark should be along, and who knows who else may pop in, because I did put out our little link to everyone in the in our little podcast family. Well, and we're recording, so we are indeed live. So Lonnie, why don't we jump straight into some topics from the board, or do you guys want to just quickly talk about Dusty Beard since or Dusty Hill?
Dusty Beard.
Wow.
Dusty the
Wow.
Yeah, Dusty Hill. Yeah, it's a sad thing.
Are rock stars getting old, and they're passing on, and there have been so many people who've passed away this week. Joey Jordison, Slipknot, a lot of Kiss connections, obviously Gary Corbett, Jeff LaBar, now Dusty. Lonnie, what are your kind of thoughts on that?
It seems like it's every day lately. It's kind of scary and it's kind of sad. It's a gut punch, or it's like a gut punch in the afternoon almost every day. I check my phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like every day. It's like something's got to give here. But to Julian's point, though, I guess our rock idols, our rock stars that we idolize, they are getting old, and unfortunately bad things happen. So it was sad. ZZ Top's iconic group, and it's tragedy to lose him.
Yeah, just before we went on the air, Ken and I were talking about it. I was talking about a Destroyer show up at the Rock and Roll University in Santa Rosa, which was opened by, I think, the Californian band The Watchers, who also have a side gig as a ZZ Top cover band, and they put on a storming cover set. I mean, they've got the real beards, and put on a set of deep cuts. And I was just saying how, that went into an area that I really enjoyed, because I didn't know all that deep cut music from ZZ Top. So I knew a lot of the stuff from the 80s, but hearing all the 70s stuff did make me go back and listen to their catalog. And it was so much less painful than Springsteen's deep cuts, which had me banging my head. So Ken, your thoughts on ZZ Top? Well, I had Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. I wasn't a big, big follower of ZZ Top, though. I had the hit, the hit albums from the 80s, that sort of thing. But I thoroughly enjoyed that stuff and some of the other older material. I did get to see them once at the Cow Palace in San Francisco in the 80s, when they were kind of at their height in the early 80s. So yeah, it's a sad thing. They're all getting, the rockers, the rockers and the fans, we're all getting older. Yeah, it's sad. It seems like it's more and more guys are frequently passing away these days, unfortunately.
Yeah, so thanks for that comment on King of the Nighttime World. Yes, that was the latest video done for the song Stories that went up Monday. I think it went up. I pulled a mark and put it up early. But that's the last one in the current series. So thank you to everyone for your support for those 10 episodes with 12 songs featured. Do go back if you haven't seen them and check them out and tell me if it's worthwhile doing another season. Mark, we're just talking about ZZ Top and the passing of yet another rock star in the month of July, and just to get your thoughts on longevity and, heroes and everything on that.
Well, it's kind of surprising, actually. I mean, he wasn't really somebody who was on the radar before, like, that could possibly go away, early. And then you also had, Joey from Slipknot, who also passed away, their drummer, who just died. And then also you got the singer from Metal Church, who also recently passed away. And those guys were really young, like in retrospect, they were like in their 40s and 50s, I think, some of these guys. So yeah, very, very surprising. I mean, even Dusty, I mean, excuse me, I wasn't expecting, like I said, I wasn't expecting anything from him because, you know, usually sometimes you hear things like, you know, he was ill or he was going to go, and he didn't do that couple of shows that they said, but they said that was because of a hip problem that he had. So, you know, I don't think anybody was expecting him to pass away. So
No, well, you know what? At least he did it at home rather than on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, which or in a hospital. I know which one I'd prefer. Daniel, welcome. We're gonna jump into today's. You know, we're gonna go through the board, and I did listen to my first Slipknot song this week, so there is that. Lonnie, you were gonna get us kicked off with a topic from the board.
Yeah, it was. So I guess you guys saw that. Kiss Online on Kiss Online today, they have German versions of the vinyl and t-shirts. I thought that was interesting today. You know, so it got me thinking about those 2014 reissues. Those have become very scarce and very hard to find online lately, at least for me. I'm still missing a couple that I'd like to add to my collection, and they've become scarce. So I don't know the reasoning that all of a sudden these German ones are appearing on Kiss Online. Are they trying to get rid of some stock to what they have, or what's going on with that? I thought that was interesting, considering those American versions have become kind of scarce lately.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the deal is as far as why they're doing it now, but I know that those German ones were actually considered to be very good pressings of them, like as far as sound quality and stuff like that, much better than the actual European ones, because there was like a US one, a European one, and a separate German one of the 2014s, I believe. So, and I know that they were saying that the German ones are really good. So maybe, you know, they became scarce because people bought them up early, but now I guess they want to grab them, right?
Yeah, it's weird. The t-shirts just look like crap, just like a
Correct.
cover. Just slapped on a black t-shirt. Sorry, not interested. They do have the best of the solo albums, apparently, for $22, which is an absolute steal. I've already seen people buying, you know, as many as they can. Obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple show up on eBay, but, you know, all's fair.
Yeah, well, the best of the solo albums was obviously it had the special splatter or whatever it was edition that came out earlier. So that was all, I think, bought, and it's all gone. I assume this one is a black vinyl one, and who knows how many they pressed to that one. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the shirts are okay. The German, I'm not a big fan of collecting all of Germany or anything like that. I have a couple of, you know, editions of it. But yeah, it's maybe they're just trying to now clear out house.
Yeah, their stock.
And in preparation for something else coming. I hope. Like some kind of new deal going on with like newer pressings, like special stuff. Hopefully.
Ever hopeful, Ken.
I'm always hoping.
Ken's so optimistic. Well, let's destroy his optimism, because one of the threads that I did see, which album has aged better, Crazy Nights or Hot in the Shade? Daniel, let's start with you on that. This is quick fire.
Okay, well, from my point of view, I think it's hard to pick one because neither one has really aged that well, I think. But I think I'll go for Crazy Nights, because at least they put in an effort to go for a sound. Hot in the Shade was just lazy. I mean, the drum machine and all, it was terrible. Unfortunately, they had 4 or 5 really good songs on Hot in the Shade. They could have done something with that album, but it was so lazy and like a mishmash of different things. So I'll go for Crazy Nights.
Yeah, it could have been a real good EP, Hot in the Shades. Mark.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think Crazy Nights is far better and has aged far better. I think, you know, songs like Crazy Nights or, you know, the ballad and everything else, I think those songs that were popular then are still, you know, pretty decent now. and I think it just aged better. I never really was into Hot in the Shade. It was the last record I actually got from the Kiss catalog. I just held off on getting it because there was nothing on it that really appealed to me on that record.
Yeah, I loved it, Hot in the Shade. So it's going to shock everyone that I'm going to say Crazy Nights. I played the living daylights out of Hot in the Shade when it first came out. I loved Rise to It and that start. It was so Cinderella-ish. And there were several songs in there that I thought were really, really good, but it has not aged well. The songs pound for pound on Crazy Nights, the good songs, have aged very well for my tastes. So
I always wanted Mark to do a heavy metal version of one of the Crazy Night songs. I think it would be awesome. Or a harder song, because the songs are kind of there, but the sound, isn't there. Sorry, Julian.
The sound. I mean, you listen to Paul's demos, which now circulate, and they sound so much better. Everything that they ever said about those, like Gang choruses sounding better in Crazy Nights, the song, and I'll Fight Hell to Hold You, they do sound good. And Turn on the Night. I'm sorry. That's, well, that's just me. Ken?
Yeah, this may surprise you. I'm going to pick Hot in the Shade. For the basic reason, the sound is just dated. The sound is the problem for me, not necessarily the song quality. Though there are some songs on there just too, Paul Stanley singing way too high. And Hot in the Shade, if I trim that down to a 10-song album, I can make a pretty good album out of it. And we've talked about that before. And you know what? The vinyl remaster 2014 sounds pretty good compared to the original CD, which has not been remastered yet. So I picked Hot in the Shade.
All right, there's always one in the crowd. Lonnie?
Yeah, there was just one in the crowd because I'm not going to pick Hot in the Shade. I'm going to pick Crazy Nights. And the problem is, you can't trim it down to 10 songs because there are all those other crappy songs on there. They're still there. You can't trim it down.
You can't skip it on the vinyl.
That's not part of the rules. You're out of your lane there doing that. So I think the sound on Crazy Nights is actually better, though, because I think it's a great timestamp of where music was in 1987 when it came out. Whereas Hot in the Shade just sounds so freaking flat, and you can just tell it's just demos that we're going to throw on a disc and throw it out there and say, here you go, here's a new Kiss album. So I think because of that, I think, not that I sit here and praise Crazy Nights, but I think Crazy Nights is just has aged a whole lot better, because you can look at everything else that came out in that era and say, well, that fits in. Whereas Hot in the Shade doesn't sound like anything that came out in 1989. It doesn't sound like anything at all.
It sounds like a collection of leftovers.
Correct. That's what it is.
Well,
exactly. And
just to interject quickly,
Okay.
Sorry. just to say that, to interject here, though, I think what Rise to It is better than anything on Crazy Nights. And I think Forever is a pretty darn good ballad. On there. So
that's what's Hide Your Heart.
And Hide Your Heart. I mean, come on. I think they were going to maybe use that for Crazy Nights, but they did not. But I'm just
a leftover.
There's some good songs. It's a leftover.
Yeah, Stefan raises a little bit of a point that I was going to make contrary. About the guitar work on Crazy Nights is much more developed and thought out, whereas with Hot in the Shade being more demos, it almost feels like the amount of attention and detail did not go into the crafting of lead work in particular, like it would be for a fully finished product and a very deliberately thought out product like Crazy Nights. So that's why to this day I say listen to Crazy Nights and to those solos, but try and ignore the production.
To me, it seems like they did put in the effort for a few of the songs on Hot in the Shade, like Forever, you have a great solo, Hide Your Heart, great solo as well, and maybe one or two more songs. But the rest, they didn't put enough work into. So as Ken said, it could have been something, but it wasn't.
All right. Who wants to throw out another topic from the board? Don't all fight at once.
If we go to Facebook, I saw they put up a few topics over there. Your least favorite song, album by album. Oh my.
We have to go.
Maybe we can do that one for
Lonnie's
Revenge. I'd like to hear your least favorite song from Revenge. We'll start off with Lonnie.
Well, you can't. But you can't count. I'm not going to count Car Jam 81 because I don't.
No, that's good. We don't count.
Correct. It's like the other game we were doing. It's like a couple weeks ago we were doing the Elder. We didn't count Fanfare. We're going to throw that out right off the top. So you're like asking me to pick like my least favorite kid, even though I don't have any kids. So, I don't know.
You can do it. You can do it.
I can do it. I can. And I'm gonna go Paralyzed at the end of the day.
Oh God.
It's tough, but I'm gonna go Paralyzed. It's a good song, but it doesn't. And I know what Daniel's gonna say, but I know his least favorite song of Revenge. But I'm gonna go Paralyzed. It's good, but to me it doesn't have. It's not as good as the rest of it. Then that's it.
Mm-hmm. All right,
but Daniel, you're going to say track 5, aren't you?
Yeah, you went for Daniel. So Daniel, you're up. What's your least favorite song?
Well, it's good that Lonnie knows my least favorite song because I don't know which one.
I know what it is. You
Which one
criticized it many times on the show. God gave rock and roll to you.
Well, it's really
Come on,
well done. And so
there's so many to choose from on that album.
So I don't think that's too many to choose from. For me, it's between Spit, Paralyzed, and I guess one of those two. So I think I'll go for because I kind of like most of Paul's songs on there. But the real highlights are, of course, Unholy, and I also enjoyed Thou Shalt Not. The problem I have with God Gave Rock and Roll to You is mostly the lyrics. Right. I think they perform it really well, but I can't really get into the lyrics. On the other hand, Thou Shalt Not has perfect lyrics. Probably my favorite song when it comes to Kiss lyrics. So, but I'll go for. I think I'll go for Paralyzed as well.
Interesting.
But it's better than a lot of songs on Hot in the Shade. But
it's still better than a lot of songs on Hot in the Shade and Crazy Nights.
Yeah.
Well, knowing my love of Bob Ezrin, this would be really easy to pick a terrible song off here. But but honestly, this is probably one of his best production works that he's done for them. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's going to be any surprise to anybody, including my dear friend Lonnie, that when I pick Spit as the worst song possibly ever created by Kiss, that he'll understand that coming from me, it would be my choice. That I would choose that. But it is dreadful. They do, and they actually do, like, they had the gall to put the American anthem in as part of the solo. Like, how ridiculous is that? And Bob Ezrin okayed
Why
that.
do you hate America?
Hey, I'm not the Iron Sheik here. I'm not doing anything. USA had to. No, I'm not doing any of that. So,
Mark, do you think they did that because they had already thought that they would perform the song live on the tour?
Maybe, and they had the Statue of Liberty idea too. So maybe it was something all behind, the love of America. Because look, we know how much Gene loves America, more than the average American.
Well, Mark does.
Oh, hey, I don't hate America. I've been to America many, many times, and I've enjoyed it. And and all of you guys are my friends, are American friends. So, it's just that album has some really, really, really high points, like Unholy and Take It Off. I think is a great song, and I Just Wanna, I think, is pretty decent. There's lots of songs in there that are good. Thou Shalt Not is good, but there's the ones I don't like. I really don't like on that album.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to save Canada from this is like a hockey match, USA versus Canada. We've got Sweden in there as well.
Free agency.
Yeah, Ken, talk some sense into this conversation, please. Help us.
I don't know. I do like Spit.
Thank you, Ken.
I'll just say I don't like Spit, but to me it's like a toss-up between a couple songs, and one of them is Tough Love. That's one for me. And the other one is Every Time I Look at You, because I think it didn't reach its full potential until it was on Unplugged. It's much better on Unplugged than on Revenge. So those are the kind of the two that I would pick from. But my first thought was Tough Love. So I guess I'll have to go with that.
I like that song. All right, I'm split between Spit and Domino, which both have been mentioned. I think I'm going to have to go with Spit because I usually bash it. But there you go. Even with the wonderful production, that just makes it a very well polished turd. So, all right, which moves nicely into another topic on the board, which is what would you like from Bruce? Bruce has been recording with the Vegas Mob, which is of course. Todd, Brent, and I always forget the other guy, but there you go. He's doing a lot of different things. They've just done a recording with Eric Singer of Heaven, but he's always out there carrying the banner for Kiss, Kiss in the 80s. He's always doing something. He's out. I think he's on the road now because it's summertime with Grand Funk. So, but what would fans really like to see Bruce doing that perhaps he hasn't done? He sits down and talks about his his guitars and gear. He talks about songs. He shared soundboard recordings. What else do you want from the man, Mark? Well,
what would be actually cool, and since I can't imagine Kiss ever doing this anytime soon, is if you could somehow, this is of course guessing that he can do this, finagle some of the original master tapes, go into a studio and do like a kind of, like a VH1 thing where he goes through some of the 80s albums that he was on, and maybe go through some of the production of it and show some of his, solos out some of his tracks, and maybe talk about some of the gear that he used on the recording of the record and stuff like that. I would love to hear him do like a sort of analysis of like Asylum or something like that. Like get the master reels up, go through it, solo some of Eric Carr's drumming, go through like, King of the Mountain, let us hear it just soloed out and just show how they kind of, went through and made the song top to bottom, and because he was in so many of the records, it would be fantastic to see something like that. I would love to see a sort of, behind the scenes look like that. And, he's always been flying that flag of the 80s Kiss. So if anybody could probably get away with it, or maybe he could, rib, Paul a little bit and say, hey, listen, let me do a little short, special on these albums. Maybe they would let him do it. Who knows?
Probably not. Lonnie.
Probably not. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of with Julian in the fact that what more do you want from the guy? The guy has been, the card-carrying member of Kiss in the 80s, carries that flag and carries it proudly. I would imagine that if Eric Carr was still with us, that he would be side by side with him, joining him on trumpeting that era of the band. But, one thing maybe Bruce could do is I don't know, could and I kind of feel like I'm Ken on this, and that's could Bruce talk Gene and Paul into doing some kind of like Kiss Unmasked or Kiss Without the Makeup box set, like of just that era type of music, and obviously it would really be geared toward the hardcore fans, but I think that as much as Kiss concentrates on the 70s and then they ignore everything from 83 to 96, it would be really cool to get some kind of box set, like really just packaged with a bunch of demos and live recordings and of things from that era, and let Bruce spear that project. I think that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll tell you something. The thing that's really interesting about this is that my other band that I'm a big, supporter of, Yes, have just now again released and announced 2 more huge box sets coming out. They're doing the ABWH, Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman Howe Deluxe Edition with like 9 CDs, 5 DVDs, all this stuff, pictures, this and that, laminate, like all kinds of crazy stuff. And then they're even releasing on vinyl as well as the DVDs and the Blu-rays, the 1975 show from from Queens Range Park, what they did for Relayer. They're redoing the quad sound on it and everything. I mean, it's sort of heartbreaking that one of my bands can do all these things and release all these fantastic kind of boxes, and the other one is just so stuck in the mud with doing this stuff, you know?
Ken?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see from Bruce, a BK4 album, and also he actually talked recently, and this is the first time at least I heard it, that of him talking about actually writing a book. He actually mentioned it in during in one of those live auctions that he was involved with, and he was talking a lot about stuff, and he talked about a book. And I was like, oh, he hasn't really. Usually he's shied away from that kind of stuff. So I thought, oh, that would be really good. I'd love to, because he has a great memory still, and I'm sure there's a lot of great stories. And if he does this career, it should be pretty darn interesting. A book.
Yeah, book is it for me, and I would like him to not focus wholly on Kiss. I would really like the stories of Meatloaf, Blackjack, Bolton, all those studio sessions that he did. I know he was, years ago still friendly with some of the people that he'd worked with early on. The Stevie stuff, Rosetta, it's just endless. And after Kiss, I don't want him to talk about any of that session work because there's just so much of the freaking stuff. Pick some highlights, and don't talk about tribute albums apart from a session to talk about his brother. So a book would be very nice, and I'd really like him to lay it out, the narrative, and try and paint a scene with a ghostwriter, a good one, about coming into Kiss in '82 and getting rejected, and then getting the call in '84 to paint that up nice in a nice narrative form, and not for it necessarily to be in the way that he talks. So it doesn't need to be like Peter's book or Ace's book. It can be a little bit more of his autobiography, but well written and very vivid. That would be very nice. But as for anything else, he does so much already. I'm not gonna even think of stuff that's missing. The idea of an unoriginals box set would be nice, but that's out of Kiss's control. That goes into other areas, so I won't hold my breath or ask Bruce for that. Daniel?
You guys had a lot of great ideas. I don't know if I have that much to add, but you didn't mention anything about live performances, and I think the last few years when he performed with his band on the cruise, those performances have been some of the highlights, I think, even if you count in what Kiss has done. So for sure I would like him to do a tour with that band, but again, is there a market for it? Maybe if he can be opening act for a bigger band, that would be great. Imagine if he could open for Kiss, for example. That would be awesome. And also maybe some re-recording of his 80s Kiss stuff with his band. Maybe add one or two songs from his Kiss era that he feels a bit, re-record songs that he feel are special to him, and that he can kind of re-record and make them feel up to date, because he sure as hell has got a great band behind him. So I'd love to see his new record, and some sort of live performances to go along with that. Otherwise, your suggestions are just great. It's not easy to be last in this panel because you cover it also well. So there's not much for me to say.
Yeah, I love the idea of him taking that band out on the road and doing like what they've done with the cruise, in theaters and smaller venues. I would love if that were the case for them to, whoever the drummer is, to do an Eric Carr Recreation Syndrome demo from the mid '80s. So you remember the Metallica tones and all that programmed into those. It'd be really fun just as a little tribute to Eric to see that done. And I don't think that has been done or anything like that yet. So if there's tribute bands who are looking for something different, get out some of those Simmons pads. Well, maybe not those Simmons pads, the other Simmons pads. All right. Who's got a topic other than me? Lonnie, Ken, Daniel.
I got one.
Okay, good.
Go ahead.
Fixing Psycho Circus. I saw that earlier, and the original poster, put up some of those demos that we've heard, like Body and Soul and I Want to Rule the World, Sweet Dirty Love. What those are his suggestions of how he would have fixed Psycho Circus, because we've talked about the album a lot on the show, that it really hasn't aged well. What would you guys do, or what would you guys do to fix Psycho Circus in a hypothetical world?
Tie up Paul Stanley.
Different producer, and also include Ace and Peter, and give Ace some space and make him write a song or two. So that's basically it. The songs on the album aren't up to par, especially for me. Quite a few of the Gene songs are really horrible, and I actually like I Want to Rule the World, that song. I think that could have been something pretty good. It has a catchy chorus, and should have used that one instead of some of the material that ended up on the album, like Journey of 1,000 Years. You Wanted the Best is one of the worst.
It's one of the worst songs ever.
It's really thick in irony. You wanted the best. You sure as hell didn't get
sure
it.
as hell. No, so different producer, let the band play, and change some of the songs. I actually like most of Paul's stuff on that album.
Yeah, I think they needed to have to be put in a room together, the four of them, with no advisors, no lawyers, and just the walls are covered with 1970s photos of the band, to remind them of who they are, what they were, and not a single photo past 1975, just for them to be brought back to Super Kiss and Greatest Kiss, was not the foundations of the band. And perhaps if they started trying to make music together first before starting negotiations, they should have had a Kramer or Ezrin. They shouldn't have been branching out to using a new producer, without a doubt. That's why I said tie up Paul Stanley, because, I think it needed to have an adult making the decisions for them, saying you need to work with someone who you've worked with before, who can bring out the best in you, or simply capture you in the most organic way possible. So if you're not looking for art and being creative and fixing stuff, use Kramer. If you're looking to take bits and pieces and meld them into something that works, use Ezrin, and get rid of all those extraneous co-writers. That's the only thing that could have been done, in my view, because they forgot who they were. All of them, not just one. All of them forgot who they were and what made them the greatest show on earth, the biggest band in the world.
Yeah, I think you hit a really good point, Julian, about that, because if they would have went back to, let's say, Eddie Kramer, and used him to do it, and then get them to just have all four of them play together. Now everyone's going to say, okay, well, if they did that, it wouldn't, maybe the playing, the performance wouldn't be as good as they did with the other people that played on the record. Okay, but the thing is, at least it would sound like Kiss sounds. One of the things that I like about the new soundboard recording that came out is that, Ace is a bit sloppy in his playing, but that's how I remember hearing them when I heard them in 96 and 97 when they came back. You know what I mean? If they did an album with that kind of performance on record, sure, they could have still polished it up a little bit more, but at least it would have had that vibe to it a bit. I think if they would have used the original people on there, they could have put out a record that sounded like Kiss. Sure, it wouldn't have been a fantastically performed record like a Revenge or something, but it would still be a Kiss album with some sort of vibe to it of the original people in it. I think that's what was missing from that. It's really polished. It's like almost hard to believe that nobody probably believed right away that was those Kiss people, because it was so like beyond what people were expecting, I think, as far as performance.
All right, Lonnie, save Psycho Circus.
No, I think Julian made some excellent points, and I remember hearing stories that when Black Sabbath was recording 13, that Rick Rubin did very similar to what Julian suggested. He put them in a room and made them listen to those, just sit down and listen to those early Black Sabbath albums. this is what you guys sound like, and this is what the public is expecting, and this is what the public wants. I think that kind of attitude with an Eddie Kramer or Bob Ezrin, of putting them in a room without lawyers, without anyone else, just the four of them and either Kramer or Ezrin, and saying, this is our goal. This is what we need to be shooting for right here. And it wasn't that at all. They shot this way instead of going for what was right in front of them.
It took them 10 years because I guess they did kind of that for Sonic Boom.
Yeah, correct. And they kind of went that way for Sonic Boom 10 years. At least that was the goal. It was more of a meat and potatoes type of straight ahead rock album. Hey, we're going to try to recreate it. And say what you want about Sonic Boom. I really like Sonic Boom. I know other people aren't as big of a fan of it, but I think they at least were goal oriented on Sonic Boom of this is what we want. And they knew what they wanted when they did Sonic Boom, as opposed to you had four egos, I think, out of control, and four lawyers to go along with it, and the proof is within the album what happened.
I think most of the time they have had a clear goal, but a few albums they missed out on that one. And Psycho Circus is for sure one of them. Hot in the Shade is another, and maybe Monster to some extent as well. Otherwise, I think they have been pretty, goal oriented and knew what they were going for.
All right, Ken.
Well, I do agree with a lot of your points, definitely.
That's why they go last.
I do agree with a lot of your points. One thing is, I don't blame the producer for the production. I blame him partly because of the songs he chose. And I think he turned away a bunch of songs that were better than what was put on there. Another standpoint is to have them all together and just use their self-written songs. And one of the things they probably should have done is like what Van Halen did for A Different Kind of Truth, bring in these old songs that never made it to album, that were songs they wrote back in the 70s, and tool them to make them work for whatever the end of the 90s there, and use those because there's a lot of good Kiss songs that weren't used that we've heard in some demo form. So I think they could have done that, and it would have been a lot better album. And the other thing about it is Psycho Circus was inconsistent in this type of songs were on there. I mean, you left over from Carnival of Souls. We Are One it's a good song, but it's more Beatlesque kind of thing. Like it would be on Gene Simmons' solo album. So you need to make it more consistent of an album. I think if they would have chosen their stuff from the 70s, some of the songs that they didn't use, and tooled them, get them going, they could have knocked out a pretty good album.
But at least Peter and Ace can't be blamed for Psycho Circus since they're only on.
They can't.
No, they can't actually.
Into the Void, and Peter obviously sings, one other song, unfortunately.
But someone will blame them.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what?
A lot of people.
There's four guys in the band, so there's four guys to blame, regardless of who's driving the car to start sounding like Paul Stanley. But if you throw all four of them in the room and said, write a single song together, and you're not coming out until you have, or there's one of you left and you're really fat and 3 sets of bones, I think you would have had one person emerge from that room and have 3 sets of bones, because by that point, they'd already made the money. They already had set, made their bed in essence, and had all the negativity and all the goodwill had been burned off from the reunion. So I don't think we were ever going to get anything. And David, Redwood Walrus have made some good comments in the chat, about It's My Life would have been a good choice. And yeah, that is them doing the Van Halen kind of approach of going back in the catalog. And it just boggles the mind that they would, go back and do something like Gene's Carnival of Souls, and try that out if you've listened to the extended sessions, or the god-awful, David also mentioned, Body and Soul, which is frankly
I know you're a big fan of that
That's
song.
not good.
It is really, really bad. So let's get to, one of the topics from one of our friends who've joined us. And I popped it up on the screen a couple of times to see if I could remember that. And it's the Rock and Roll Podcast. Thank you for coming up with the idea. What was your favorite opening band for Kiss? All the times you've seen them on tour, who is that one act who still resonates with you that you don't even need to think about it? So don't be looking up at the sky.
All right, I got it.
It's easy.
Yeah,
All
same
right.
here.
All right, good. Mark, if it's so
Motley
easy.
Crue,
What year?
when they did that joint tour together.
I'm only saying
does that
what year
count?
because Ken probably saw them
Yeah, I guess Ken probably saw him opening.
in '83.
Ken's much better than
Yeah, no, not. I wish I saw that tour. That would have been fantastic to see. But I mean, the only other times I've seen them, I honestly can't remember who the opening bands were. I think Econoline Crush was an opener one time. Degeneration was an opener one time, and they were forgettable. Like honestly, but the Motley Crue thing was probably the only band thing that I was like, wow, this is a great band to go on before Kiss.
All right, Lonnie.
Motley Crue's good, but and they were actually better than Kiss the two nights I saw them on that tour. So I mean I could say that, but because it was a co-headliner, I'm not going to say Motley Crue because it was billed as like a co-headliner. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go Alice in Chains. I saw Alice in Chains on the third show of the reunion tours, and it's pretty cool that I get to see Alice in Chains open for them. Second to last show Alice in Chains ever did with Lane Staley.
Yeah.
But there was this band, I saw them in Sault Ste. Marie in 2007, and there's this band called Clown Sack. It was a local band that opened for them. They were very entertaining. They had these girls in like bikinis dancing. They had like Love Gun type like white faces and like black hair. They were pretty entertaining. They sang this song called Rumpelstiltskin. They sang. So it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. My brother and I still talk about it.
Clearly, Lonnie. Clearly, they still resonate with
They
you.
do, obviously.
What year was that? 2007.
2007, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Ken.
Well,
I didn't see Clown Sack. You never get an answer.
I did not see Clown Sack. I didn't see like Mark, Motley Crue in the later version of opening, way different than when I saw them in '83 when they were really hungry and just starting out as a new band. I mean, they were on fire.
Yeah, but not much difference between Vince's vocals in '83 and 2012.
Wow.
They were actually better. I know you say that they never sang that well, but it is a lot better. So that one was close. And I kind of have to throw in another one. I thought Wasp was really good too as an opener. When I saw them open for Kiss at the Cow Palace. I think it was Cow Palace in that one.
What tour was that?
I think
Asylum.
Yeah. So yeah, it was Cow Palace. So yeah, those two were really great, opening acts that I thoroughly enjoyed.
All right, now we're going truly international. Daniel.
Let me. I would have liked to see Montrose, but I was a bit too young back then. So my favorite has to be, a packed stadium in Stockholm, 35,000 people, and you have the Swedish band Europe opening up. And Europe, they had a big hit with
Final Countdown.
Final Countdown, yeah.
Stormwind.
Yeah, they have quite a few good songs, Rock the Night and a few others. But of course, they got a big welcome from the crowd because mostly, to be honest, when you see opening acts for Kiss, people are mostly just drinking beer and they don't pay any attention, so you don't get a vibe for it. But this was it was a big difference this time, and the whole stadium, people jumped and rocked out, so it was pretty cool. So I'll have to go Europe for this one.
Okay. I'm trying to think of some of the bands that have opened that when I've seen them, and I've had stuff like ZO2's been mentioned. They're okay. It's down to Crew or Nugent for me. So,
Not Leopard.
No. I mean, because that's not real Leopard anymore, after about 2002. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Crew because that was the one band in 2012 that I really felt that they had blown Kiss away, and Kiss coming on afterwards was just not quite like seeing Kiss with one of these other bands opening for them. And then Farewell Tour, I think, was Ted Nugent, which was a really good show because great songs. And I don't give a fuck about the politics. I like his music, and I always will. So that was a good topic. All right. So let's moving on into some other. David Donnelly, you've posted about the why albums have really boring back sleeves. The rears. Yeah. That's really one I think better left for Dennis Wollock to address, as so, or maybe we'll put that together as a different one. And Robert Dunning, yes, you're at the same show as Ken was at Concord, and me too. So, all right, who's got a topic?
There was one here before. I'm trying to find it though now.
Oh, okay. You go and find it because I've got a good one right here.
Okay, go ahead.
What's the most interesting or unique items to have signed or that you have signed? Or add on to that, what is your most prized item that is signed by the band if you have nothing unique or interesting? Lonnie.
My legs. First and foremost, I guess. But unique item.
Well, your legs are unique.
Well, that's true. They are mine.
Yes.
So, but I got a couple others too. I have a Missouri license plate that says GN-SMNS, and I had it on my black Mustang back in the day when I was in my 20s. So Gene and I had Gene sign that when I was backstage in Sarnia in 2009. And I go, here, Gene, sign this. And he looks at it and he goes, oh, very nice. He signs it real big on it. It was pretty cool. And I got go ahead. I got one other thing. I got it like right next to me. Go ahead.
Okay. Ken.
I'm trying to think of a unique, nothing really unique signed. I'm trying to think. I mean, Gene Simmons signed my, the picture disc, that sort of stuff. I have Ace on a couple album covers. But nothing totally, crazy unique as far as signatures. I don't have a ton of them, so I can't say anything that's special that someone might go crazy over.
Yeah, it's much the same for me. I don't have anything spectacularly interesting. I've had some of my copies of my books signed by them, but I stopped doing that because I just get rid of them. I've got one thing left that I won't ever get rid of, and that is the reprint of the first Kiss poster that came in the Kisteria box set. When I got Kisteria, I then spent the next year going to all the shows and getting it signed by Paul, Gene, then Peter, and Ace, of course. So, I knocked that out in a year getting it signed. It's not as cool or as awesome as, say, that the original one, but it's a little bit more manageable in terms of size as well. Yeah. So, and it is at least signed by the original. So that's probably it for me. I don't think there's anything else. All my personalized photos. Lonnie, was it you who I was taking photos of with Vinny signing you? Was I? Yes. Okay, that was you. I can't remember whose leg. You're not the only person who does it, apparently. Mark.
I know I'm going to get ridiculed for this by the Peanut Gallery people, but I have absolutely nothing signed by Kiss. I have zero. Like, I've never went and asked for anything because I don't know. I've never been a guy who went for getting things signed. I don't know what it is. Like, it's not that I don't like them or I don't. I mean, I went to so many NAMM things and I just went every once in a blue moon and got something signed because one of my friends were in a lineup. So I would be with them and I would, just stand in line. So I would get something signed. But I've met so many people and I've never asked them for autographs. It's just, I don't know, it's just not my thing. I think Daniel's kind of the same way too. I think that he's not really into the whole signing of the autographs. But the one item that I do have that I take very seriously and I think is a dear item to me, and of course I have to thank Mr. Julian Gill for it, is my gold Destroyer disc on the wall there.
I'm just hoping they don't do a platinum one.
There you go. On the
But
wall there. So
Mark will sign his own albums though for you.
well, yeah, I mean that's upon, if people ask for it, believe it or not, So but hey, you got to give what the people want. If they want it signed, I'll sign it. If they don't want it signed, I won't sign it. But honestly, that is the one thing though that I do cherish and is probably my prize thing. So I do thank you for that, Julian.
Well, thank you. It's good to have all of you as part of the show. All right, Daniel, was Mark right? You don't care?
When I was a kid, it was pretty cool, I think. When I was 15, 16 years old, and I got a hold of First Kiss, Last Licks with Eric Carr's autograph, like a year after he died. That was a special feeling. So I do get, the feeling some people have when they get autographs. But nowadays, I really don't care. But back then, it was pretty cool. It was like the distance between the band and yourself became less, and it was so cool that, man, Eric Carr put his pen here, and now I'm holding this. So when I was 15, 16 years old, it was really cool. But since then, I'm not into autographs or vinyl anymore.
Now there's Twitter and Instagram and all these other things. It's nice to have the bands far away and go back to the old days, actually. So, all right, Lonnie, you dashed off. Did you have
I did. I have this book that I made. It's like, I actually have like a series of them that I made of different things like I've done with the band, whether it's like pictures from a show, like pictures from like every show I've gone to, my ticket stubs and stuff like that. And this is the first edition that I ever did. And this one, you can see like me with the bands in the front.
On a Kiss Train.
And this side has Ace, Eric Singer, says Bruce Kulick, and it says to Lonnie, a true fan, Paul Stanley. There's one of my prized possessions. And on the back's cover it has Vinny, Gene, Peter, Paul again, and Tommy Taylor. It's like every living member signed this one for me.
That's
very
awesome.
Nice.
That's really cool. When I get stuff signed, it usually says you're violating the terms of the order.
Cease and desist.
All right, I think we've got time for one more topic. Mark, did you find one?
Actually, yeah. I'm not sure if that's what the one that I was actually looking at first, but the one thing that I did see on here that somebody brought up was, what would you like to see next from the soundboard series? And that's one thing that I've been thinking about quite a lot because they started it off with like a 2001 series concert, right? Which is kind of unexpected. I didn't think they would start so late in their career with I thought they would have started something a little bit more back in the beginnings. So I'd like to hear something maybe from like really early on, even, you know what I mean? So something that doesn't require them to do like 3 albums, like maybe do something from like a Hotter Than Hell tour, like a good soundboard from that tour, because it was really raw then still. They were really hungry still then too. And I just think that it would be cool to have a really early one done. And instead of having it so, nonchalantly, maybe put a little bit more effort into the cover, maybe put in like an insert or two with something in there historic, nothing over the top because we know they won't do that, but something early, on that's what I think. I'm curious of what you guys would hope for maybe in the next series there.
Okay, Ken.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that recently because I thought, they need to start releasing these more frequently. I mean, I know that one just came out, but to me, they should be putting out like 4 a year or something before. I mean, there's got to be a ton of recordings out there that they have. But yeah, one of the things I'd like to see is the Japan, the Rock and Roll Party, that one that they were going to put out, album that then became, Alive 2. I would like that kind of soundboard from that. And yeah, like Mark said, it would be nice if they did a little bit extra, slightly. They don't have to go crazy, but a little bit extra as far as the packaging. Maybe a picture at least of the band or something inside.
Yeah.
Or
Or
some kind of
embossed Kiss Army logo.
Oh, man, of course.
Ooh,
yeah.
Wow.
But or a sheet that has information about what was going on in the band at the time and about the live performance and the tour or whatever, with a few pictures on that. That would be cool. Some background, just not like here's a bunch of songs we played live. This is
Buy the merch.
Just buy it and don't ask any questions. So
Buy the t-shirt bundle.
yeah. So something like that. I would like.
Okay, I'm going to go next because I just saw a really good one that made me think. Then I can't remember what it was. Yeah, do you remember a few years ago there was an auction, and Eddie Kramer had his master reference reels for the Rock and Roll Party in Tokyo '77 show that was fully mixed, and those got pulled from the auction for obvious reasons. So I would love that to be released, and that would be a single LP, as I believe it would be anyway. So in order to thicken up that packaging, to have the 12 by 12 photo book to go along with that single LP, and still have it in the plain brown so that it matches, but to have it thick, I think that one is one that's on a lot of people's hit list to have a perfect quality version of that. And if they do have reels, and God knows if they still have multi-tracks, then to have that sounding as clear and as bombastic as the other Tokyo show, I think would be really cool. I've seen the posting about the Nashville Lick It Up one. I don't see anything with Vinny happening, but I do like the suggestion of an Animalize one as well. Lonnie.
For me, it's back to Japan and do Japan '95 with Bruce and Eric. Those are some of my favorite shows or something from South America in '94. I think the band never sounded tighter what they did in '94, '95. So I think either one of those two shows would definitely be my pick.
All right, who hasn't had a pick?
Daniel.
I'm sorry, Daniel. Which Stockholm show would you like released?
Actually, Lonnie picked some of the shows that are on my list. But first of all, I would like to see them put a little more effort into the packaging. I know they were going for like the unofficial bootleg look, but I really don't see any reason to buy something that looks like that when I have Spotify. I mean, you need to put some effort into it in order to make me want to buy it. So that would be the first thing. I mean, have a look at the fans' versions of the bootlegs and steal some ideas from them, because they got it right. And then my pick would actually be from the Revenge era as well, because as Lonnie said, the band to me never sounded tighter, better, heavier, harder. Great backup singers, with Eric doing the backup vocals, and great set list all through the years from '92 to '95. But I think I'll go for the one of the shows in England. That was really the first tour that lineup did, if you don't count the club dates, and it was like a shock to senses to hear those shows for the first
Actually, we
time.
got called out on that previously when we were talking about it, when we called the '92 tour England, because they did go to Scotland. So let's be accurate this time.
But no one knows. No one can tell the difference between the UK, Great Britain, and
I'm English. I'm not getting called out for it again.
What's the difference between the UK and Great Britain then? I've never learned that. Is there a difference?
Includes Northern Ireland.
Okay, so Northern Ireland is a part of Great Britain or a part of the UK?
The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Sure.
Okay.
Geography lesson for the day.
Yeah, you guys seem to need a few geography lessons.
We're
At
very
least
confused
the Americans.
and schizophrenic.
Och sen måste ni träna lite på svenska, så ni vet hur man ska säga du är söt och sånt där också. Well, yeah, that's true. But Wembley '92. Heavy sound, tight band, and it fits my timeline perfectly. That was when I was most into the band, and put a bit more effort into the packaging. Then I'll buy it.
Yeah. Or
So I would buy
another-
Lonnie's suggestions as well.
Thank
South
you.
America. Ooh.
What about another short-lived lineup like Eric Carr, 1980?
Yeah,
That'd be great too.
Well,
What was interesting was,
New Zealand.
yeah, I was going through memos from that tour, and they were trying to negotiate a live broadcast. They were going to record the July the 25th debut of Eric Carr for a King Biscuit episode, and Chom up in, I think, Toronto, Mark, was trying to negotiate getting a copy of the soundboard to broadcast locally. And then they were talking about that we will keep this under security or make sure no one gets a copy and all that, or coming up with like different solutions for that. So if they have, if they did do anything to record that July the 25th show in particular, because obviously it being Eric's first with the band would be fantastic. And then the other one that we've mentioned previously was the one that was previously announced to be the first in the series, which was of course Nashville 1990. So presumably they have a Hot in the Shade one that could also be ready to go. But I think if there's there is legitimacy to the story about King Biscuit, but whether it did get recorded at the Palladium, that'd be very, very cool. All right. That's a whole bunch of topics. We are not as prepared as I thought I was going to be, but I've been busy. So we're going to call that a show for this week. We will do these live ones again. So if you've been able to join us and would join us again, think of some topics, comments, suggestions, or anything that you think you'd like us to pontificate on live and on the air. We appreciate all of you, joining us, because that's absolutely awesome that you took time to join us. So do check out those episodes of the KissFAQ Song Story Series if you haven't. And for now, from Daniel, from Ken, Lonnie, Mark, and myself, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
See ya.